Hey guys, this is Alpha, and from today we'll start solving series of competitive coding questions. So without further ado, let's start. This website is A2OJ.com and this has nice set of ladders. A ladder is basically a series of questions that are sorted by difficulty order. And so if you're new and don't have much experience in competitive coding, then this is the best place to start. Today we'll be solving our very first question, and the name of the question is boy or girl. This question is level A problem on codeforces.com. So let's see what the question is. I'll narrate the question for you and make it visually easier for you to understand. Those days, many boys use beautiful girls' avatar in forums. So it is pretty hard to tell gender of a user at first glance. Last year, our hero went to a forum and had nice chat with a beautiful girl, or that's what he thought so. After they talked, they very often eventually they become a couple in the network. But yesterday they decided let's meet, and when our hero went to meet the girl, he found out that the girl is actually a very strong man, and this made our hero very sad. So he's too tired to love again now, and so he came up with a way to reorganize users' gender by seeing their usernames. So he wants to come up with an algorithm, and the algorithm works like this. If number of distinct characters in one's username is odd, then he's male, otherwise she's female. Now we are given a task to help our hero determine whether a particular user is a male or a female. So our hero can decide whether he wants to chat with her or ignore him. Now let's rethink our problem with the help of some examples. So this is our first example. This is username, and now our hero wants to determine whether this username belongs to a girl or a boy. So the algorithm that our hero uses is the number of distinct characters in this username should be even for this user to be female. So let's see distinct characters in this username. Here we have each alphabet and the count of alphabet in this username. So since we can see we have exactly 6 distinct alphabets, so which makes this an even number, and hence this user is a female. So yeah, our hero can chat with her. Let's see the other case. In this username, the count of each alphabet and the alphabet itself is in this table, and as we can see there are exactly 5 distinct alphabets in this table, and this makes it an odd number, and hence this is a male, and so our hero can ignore him. So I believe this gives you simple understanding of what our hero is doing to classify a user as a male or a female. Now let's build our algorithm around these examples and also see what are the input conditions. So our input condition says that the first line of the input is a non-empty string, and this string contains only lowercase English letters, and this is the username that we want to determine whether it's a male or a female. This string contains at most 100 letters. So let's see. There are only 26 distinct alphabets in English, and out of these at most 100 letters, the maximum distinct letters would be 26. Now what we want to find out is, out of these 26 distinct English letters, which of them occurs in our string, because that makes them a distinct character in our username. And if we can find what are the number of alphabets out of these 26 total alphabets which occur in our username, so we can then find out whether our user is a male or a female. Now let's understand what I just said with the help of these two examples. So we know that there are 26 distinct alphabets in English, A to Z, and out of these 26 alphabets, The alphabets which are occurring in this first username are these alphabets: W, J, M, Z, B, and R. And the count of these alphabets are 6. So this makes 6 distinct alphabets in our username, which makes this username a female. Next, in this we have 5 distinct alphabets occurring in this username: X, I, A, D, and O. And this makes it a total of 5, which makes this username a male, so we can ignore him. So I hope you understand how we are building our algorithm to determine whether a particular username is a male or a female. Now let's start doing some actual coding. I'm using this online IDE, which is Geeks for Geeks ID, and I'm using C++ language. So let's start with a basic code, and this includes this high level header. This header includes all the other libraries, and I don't have to explicitly define. For example, I have to define hash include for stdio and then vector and then set. I don't have to do that. I just have to include this library and it takes care of it all. Next thing is I'm using namespace std, that is standard, and this is my main function. So nothing very fancy about this. Now let's start coding. First of all, in our input we have a input string. So for our input variable we need a string, and let's name this s and take our s as input. Second thing, there is no other input beside this first line, so our input part is done. Now we want to check how many alphabets out of our 26 occur in this particular string. So let's create an array of boolean and let's name it as count, and the length of this array would be 26. Now let's initialize our boolean array with all false values. Now I'll tell you what I'm doing with a boolean array in just a bit, but please bear with me for a moment. So once I have initialized all of them as false, I'll loop through my string, and while looping through, I'll check whether that particular alphabet has already occurred or not. If it hasn't been occurred, then I'll mark that boolean value as true, and the next time I'll not mark it again. So let's see. This is our boolean value. This is our boolean array, and what I want to do is I want that particular index to be marked true. Now let's create another variable which is our answer, and let's assign this to 0, and let's check how many distinct characters are there in our string. So I'm gonna loop again through my boolean array, and if the value at that point is true, then I'll increase the count of this answer. Finally, if my answer is even, then it's a female and our hero can chat with her. So let's copy this because I don't want to make any typos, and I recommend you doing the same, because if there is a typo then we get a failed test case, which is very frustrating. Okay, so this is our final code, and let's check it before submitting it. And I'll explain this in just a bit, but first let's check whether this is working or not. So for this username, yeah, our hero can chat with her. Let's check other user, and that should show him ignore him because this is a guy, and this is our final user. So yeah, ignore him, and this is our final user. And let's see whether this is a guy or a girl. Yeah, that's a girl, so he can chat with her. Yep. Now let's see what I did here. Now let's break our code and understand what I just did. So I created a boolean array of length 26. So it starts from index 0 and go all the way to last index 25. Now I'm assuming that each of my index represent my each unique alphabet. So my 0 is represented as A, 1 as B, 2 as C, 3 as D, and so on up till 25 as Z. This is also called as hashing, and my hash function maps my each index to a particular string, a particular character of English alphabet. Now the occurrence of each alphabet is set as false in the initialization, which is I'm looping through all the array of this 26 alphabets and setting them as false. So I'm saying that none of these alphabets have occurred till now. Now, as I loop through my username, I go to each alphabet's index and mark that value as true. So, for example, if my E occurs, then I'll mark this as true. And how am I doing this? So, the code for that is S of I minus A. What this is doing effectively is this is the ASCII value of the alphabet of the current alphabet in the username, and I'm subtracting the ASCII value of A from it. So the ASCII value of A subtracted from ASCII value of A gives me an index of 0. ASCII value of B subtracted ASCII value of A gives me index 1, from C to A, 2, 3, 4, and so on. This is how I'm mapping my each indexes to alphabet and then marking them as true. So finally, when I loop through my entire array and check how many alphabets are marked true, that is my exact count of alphabets that are actually occurring in my username, and hence finally, I'm doing a modulo by 2 operation to check whether it is odd or even, and finally printing the output. Now let's quickly submit this code and check whether this code works on all the test cases or not. So I'm going to just paste my code and submit it. It's in queue, and let's do. Oh, okay. So this has been accepted and our algorithm worked. So, hey, nice job. Give yourself a pat on the back, and I'll see you in the next video. So, if you like the video, give a thumbs up, and if you have any doubts or any query, comment it down and subscribe to this channel for the latest video and get notifications of them by clicking on the bell icon.